Mike Detillier, WWL Radio TV New Orleans. He joins us on the show, brought to you by Sound and Communications, the leader in sound systems, football fields, arenas, baseball fields, churches, and also brought to you by the all-new Nissan Pathfinder and the new body style at Cannon Nissan in Jackson. We welcome in Mike D. on the Farm Bureau Insurance guest line. Mike D., how surprised are you, if any, that the Falcons and the Buccaneers are both 2-0?
Man, if I'd have put a money line down that Saints, Falcons, Bucks, all 3-0, I'd have my home in Tahiti today. You'd be doing this show with somebody else. I am surprised that all three are 2-0. Not so much the Saints, but Falcons and Bucks.
Which one out of the two, and it's early, Falcons and Bucks, are you more impressed with, Mike D?
The Falcons have played well, and I sort of suspected they would be the team in the NFC South that would give the Saints the most issues. Their offensive line's very good. They can run the football. They got some weapons outside. I still don't know enough about Desmond Ridder to tell you one way or another. But the Falcons have really played well. The surprise has been Tampa. They have talent on that team. Baker Mayfield's history has been he's been a pretty good starter. Teams adjust, and then a lot of times he hasn't counter-adjusted. So we'll see how long that lasts. But the Falcons are for real. They play solid defense. They don't have a great pass rush. And I think a lot of times that eventually catches up to you. But they bend a lot, and it's what Ryan Nielsen does. He was with the Saints for a long time, got to know him really well, and the guy knows his stuff, but he didn't have a great pass rusher, so he tries to force you to kick field goals. If you're going to give up points, that's the way to do it. But they control the tempo by running the football. And, man, they got a stud in Bijan Robinson. Good gracious. He's one heck of a football player. You can see it. That he's a guy that teams in the NFC South aren't going to like to play twice a year.
No.
He's that good of a player. No. As a runner and also as a receiver coming out of the backfield. But they'll go as far as Desmond Ridder will take them, to be honest with you. And I can't tell you long-term what it's going to be with Desmond. And even, he started the last 4 games last year and then 2 this year. He's had solid showings. I didn't think he played particularly well in game 1, but they would end up with a W. I thought he played better against the Packers, but it was erratic. So kind of where this all ends. That's why, the Saints are in a position here. They got to take care of business. You are not going to get this type schedule playing against these young quarterbacks, either rookies or guys that don't have a lot of experience.
Ever.
That's not going to happen every year. So you got to take care of business. But Saints defensively, they can match up with anybody.
Yeah. All right. But on offense, and it's early. So, I understand Derek Carr and the group are getting trying to get acclimated. And I also understand that Saints fans were spoiled with one of the most prolific offenses in the history of the league with Sean and Drew. So having said that, give me a grade on the Saints offense after 2 weeks.
Well, nothing higher than a C, I can tell you that. At times it shows some, hey, you can see that it's there. But other times you got line protection breakdowns. And last week it was mostly on the left side with James Hurst and Trevor Penning. Last night it was all across the board. You had breakdowns protecting the quarterback. I thought Derek Carr was aiming the football, especially in the first half. when that ball starts to come out low like that, that's an aim. It's not a good throw. It's an aim. And so you got issues there, and I'm perplexed on how they call plays. Okay, you had an opportunity to sort of seal the deal earlier. You had a 3rd and 2 inside Carolina's territory. You actually had ran the football pretty well with Taysom Hill. What you do on 3rd down? You try to throw it and you get sacked. I don't get what they don't get about using Taysom Hill more as a runner. It's perplexing to me. And Taysom was a big part of the W last night. When you see him playing quarterback, okay, every once in a while he's going to throw it, Bo, but you know it's coming, and he's still effective running the football. Who are you trying to fool here? 3rd and 2, man, I'd have run the football twice. Instead, you get sacked, so you got to punt it away. So I'm perplexed a little bit what Pete Carmichael doesn't understand about that. It's not like Taysom Hill is in his first year with the Saints. And no, you know what you got. Now they're going to be forced to use him more. I don't know the extent of Jamal Williams' injury. And Kendra Miller, he's battled hamstring and knee issues since he's been with the Saints, since he was drafted in April. So, fortunately, they picked up Tony Jones, who had experience with the team, had played in games with the Saints. He joined Sean. He got cut loose. Sean cut him there, and the Saints brought him back. And he gave you a little bit of running, but really it was Taysom last night. What are you going to do against Green Bay? Okay, you got one more game before Kamara comes back. You're unsure about Miller's status. You're unsure about Jamal Williams.
Trade for Cam Akers. What do you think, Mike D?
Oh, hell no. No. Let somebody else figure that out. I think the Saints had some interest at one time in Cam Akers. They really did. But my thing about it is it's short term until you can get, I guess, Kamara back into that. And he's always in great shape. So you got one more game that you have to play without him. But my thing about it is you have a guy that can run the football very well in Taysom Hill. It's a John McKay line, but it's real. The ball ain't that heavy. Let him carry it, if it's 9 to 12 times against Green Bay, and then Kamara becomes your guy in week 4.
I love that quote. That's good, Mike D. Mike Detillier, WWL Radio TV New Orleans. He joins us on the Out of Bounds Show, 105.9 The Zone, ESPN. All right, the Saints are 2-0, the Bucs are 2-0, and the Falcons are 2-0. Mike D said this a month ago. He still believes it today. Falcons are the biggest concern for Who Dat Nation. All right, Mike, I want to go to Bama. Alabama, Ole Miss is playing Bama this weekend. And this is not the – this looks like the weakest Bama team since Saban's first year as a head coach. Staff doesn't look all that strong, and they're still trying to figure out what they are on both sides of the ball, and their offensive line's not good. Are you surprised – because they've continued to recruit at a super high level. Are you surprised this is where they are, Mike?
A little bit on the line play because, when Nick was here, I did junkets with him when he was at LSU. He sort of said the same speech all over. But it got to the point where I could have said the speech, to be honest, because he sort of repeated the same thing wherever he went. It was a little variation, but he always talked about recruit and develop players. He thought that was the key in college football. The ability to recruit players and then develop them once they're there. They're getting all these 5-star offensive, defensive linemen. You watch them and I broke down some of the tape. I had a little bit of time last night. Watch them in pass protection. There's breakdowns across the board. Their running backs and tight ends don't do a good job in secondary pickup on blitz plays. They get pushed right back into the lap of the quarterback. But they're getting beat, in pass protection. The run blocking, they're a little bit better, but they seem to be not the most cohesive group running the football. They don't have a trigger guy, okay? And so for everybody that wants to repeat this idiotic comment that coaches make about next man up, you found out the next man, he ain't in the area code of Bryce Young. Bama went through a stretch, when you think about it, that from Jalen Hurts to Tua to Mac Jones and Bryce, none of those guys were transfer people. They were all recruited originally to Bama, and they all won big for you. Now, all of a sudden, you don't have that guy. And if you're going to play Milroe, you can't force him to be a pocket quarterback because he's not one.
No.
You've got to be able to RPO this with him and get him out to the edge. So it's like getting hit over the head with a sledgehammer. Okay, the first time it really hurts, but you know you can't get hit there. But why do you keep doing it, and then you playing guys that you know aren't really starting quarterbacks in college football today, top flight guys? But Nick had went through that run where, man, he had it. And, you heard a lot of it in the offseason. Oh, it's next man up all the time at Alabama. Okay, it used to be. But unless you have a quarterback, you're not going anywhere in today's world. You're really not. And they don't have it. But the line issues are the thing that really surprises me, because that he's put a lot of emphasis on that. And yet the play, they got huge offensive linemen. Some of them don't really set up very quickly in pass protection. They sort of rigid to get out of their stance and to pick up that edge blitz. Man, if I'm Ole Miss, I know exactly what I'm doing against them. I'm coming after them. And I try to teacup Milroe. In essence, I don't want him to get to the outside. I try to keep him in that pocket and force him to beat me throwing it. So a lot of times it's not so much about the pass rush. It's about forcing him to throw the football downfield. Make a decision and make a throw downfield. Because where he's dangerous is when he gets outside the pocket and starts running. And then athletically, he's off the charts good. But I think teams have figured it out that, if we can teacup him in that one spot and force him to throw, he's not going to be a consistent passer. Listen, this is Ole Miss's chance here. It really is. And they got an explosive offense with some pieces there that can put points on the board. Man, Alabama defensively, they still a very good front seven. They play to run well. They can get a pass rush here and there. Secondary-wise, excuse me, one of the things that they give up today that they didn't give up in the past, I should say, is the long throw. I've seen more long passes complete against Alabama secondary this year than I've seen in literally the entire time Saban was there at Alabama. They give up a lot of deep pass plays. If I'm Ole Miss, I know what I'm doing. And Lane's kind of poking the bear a little bit about who's calling the plays on defense. Is it Steele? Is it T-Rob? You can see where he's sort of playing around with this. And he sees the difference just like we all do. You don't want to say it, but, in essence, this is his way of saying it. This is not the same Alabama team we've seen in years past. Are they a good team? Yes. They're still a good team. Are they a dominant team? No. And that's because of poor quarterback play, inconsistency. Their offensive line has problems protecting no matter who's playing quarterback for them. And, boy, do they give up a lot of big plays in the passing game. That's very unusual for an Alabama football team.
Mike Detillier, WWL Radio TV New Orleans. He joins us on the Farm Bureau Insurance guest line. And the show is brought to you by the brand new Napa Auto Parts Store, I-55 North in Jackson. Napa, get up and go. Mike, let's go to, do you give, I expect I saw your LSU Tigers up close last weekend. They thoroughly dominated Mississippi State, made Malik Neighbors look like Justin Jefferson, and Jaden Daniels look like Patrick Mahomes. So do you expect a blowout for LSU to blow out Arkansas at home this weekend?
I think that point spread of 17 is about right. Just in watching Arkansas, I don't know if you saw it, KJ Jefferson didn't look right to me. Is there maybe – I know he's got an injury. He didn't look quite right. They had an opportunity to sort of blow BYU off the turf and didn't do it. Surprisingly, similar to Alabama, their weakness is up front, offensive line play. Man, Sam Pittman, he's probably the best. He's the head coach, but you know his specialty is offensive line. Of all the teams I've seen early at Arkansas, this offensive line is not real good. And you may get your star running back, but you don't have really a true number one receiver. KJ gives you issues because occasionally, boy, he gets in a group and he can really kind of tear you up throwing it. There is some erraticism in his play. And, man, he is a big man when he takes off running downfield. They've always given up a lot of yardage and big plays on defense. That sort of has been there with them. But, man, I'm surprised, Bo, that their offensive line play. Really, it's not been very good for Arkansas. So that surprised me from a Sam Pittman coach team, because normally that's always been a pretty good strength for them. And it just looks to me like KJ Jefferson is a lot more hurt than they're telling you. I think he's trying to gut through this.
Right.
Injury-wise. And I thought late in the game, it was obvious to me.
Well, yeah, they didn't even run him. I couldn't figure out what they were doing late.
They were not running him. They were trying to protect him, because his forte has always been he's this big man that can take off, and then he's a load to carry downfield if you got to tackle him. And yet they got away from that. So, again, I think they're trying to protect him. But if you just keep him in the pocket, he's going to get rattled there too. He's going to get racked all around. So I think that the 17 points is about right. Now, last year, no KJ Jefferson. It was a crazy game. LSU did not play well, and it looked like Drew Saunders and Bumper Poole looked like they had twins out on the field. It looked like these guys – it was 4 guys instead of 2. Wherever LSU was, those guys were around the football. But who saved the day for LSU? Perkins. He put on an unbelievable performance in that football game and really won it for LSU. He put that team on his back. Daniels was not good that day. They could not get a passing game going, and their running game was really, really not there. I give Arkansas a lot of credit. I think Barry Odom did a nice job scheming that team up. And that was a really close football game. I think all the time when you have changes in the coaching staff, coordinators, offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator, there's an adjustment period. We're seeing it at Arkansas, aren't we?
Yeah.
Without Barry, and then you lose your offensive coordinator too. You sing a little bit different game called, and sometimes you get caught in the system and you get away from the players around you. Listen, I've seen it at LSU. I've seen it all over. That, you become hard-headed about what you want to do, and you have to adjust to the talents you have on hand. Arkansas right now is not in the best place on both offense or defense. It doesn't seem to be they connecting the dots well.
Sounds like Mississippi State. All right, Mike, I got 1 minute. Can Hugh Freeze and Auburn pull an upset in College Station this weekend?
They could, but I don't think they will. Could they? Yes, but I don't think they will. But Texas A&M, and they've got talent, much more talent than Auburn. That's not even the debate here. It's the mindset of A&M. And does anybody have any idea about that? Okay, football is played between the ears. And you wonder a little bit about this football team, about their mindset as a group. And I really couldn't tell you. I think A&M wins, but it wouldn't surprise me at all if Auburn pulls the upset. But I think A&M wins this football game. They have more talent. And, they got a lot on the line here. A loss here?
Woo.
I'm not sure Jimbo coaches another game.
Hello.
And listen, these guys at A&M who have put all this money into the program, they're not real happy with Jimbo now. Let them lose a game like this. And you
Coach
say, well,
Prime
that don't happen.
to A&M.
You say, oh, that don't happen? What happened with Les?
Yeah.
He lost to Auburn. What happened after that? Man, they had an AD that slung him right out the door. And he won a national championship, okay? His team won a national championship at LSU. And they were good teams at LSU with Les. Other than a couple years back, can you say that about A&M with Jimbo? A couple years back, I think they got screwed because I thought they were one of the top 4 teams in college football. They should have been in the playoff system. But, man, there is a lot in the vortex of the tornado at A&M right now with Jimbo, and he's feeling it. And you can hear it in his voice. He's feeling it after getting skunked by Miami of Florida.
We'll leave it there. Mike Detillier, WWL Radio TV New Orleans. He joins us on the Farm Bureau Insurance guest line. Thanks, Mike D.
Thank you, Bo. Appreciate it.
He's the best. He joined us on the Farm Bureau Insurance guest line. The show is brought to you by Sound and Communications, and they will install the top quality sound system into your football field, your arena, your baseball field, your church, all powered by SoundCommAV.com and Sound and Communications. The Auburn at A&M game is the Tito's Vodka Bloody Mary game, Jason, because it's an 11 a.m. kick. So you go straight from game day to Auburn and Hugh Freeze at A&M and Jimbo Fisher in College Station. Jimbo can't afford to lose this one. Woo! Out of bounds, 105.9 The Zone ESPN. I'm your host, Bo Bounds. Good interviews today with Tom Luginbill and Mike Detillier. Could be some exciting games this weekend with Ole Miss at Bama and Mississippi State at South Carolina. Auburn at A&M. Colorado at Oregon. That's 2:30 ABC, by the way.